Well, hello, everybody, and hello, Chad. How was your week this week, Chad?
Busy.
So you hit the first of the year running.
Always.
That's like I wake up on the 2nd and I think, man, I got a whole lot I got to get done this year. It really comes down to that. It's like, let's just get it started now.
Well, this is the great time of year to set some goals for yourself.
Yeah.
So, I was real busy trying to figure out what those were going to be for this year. And the other part of it is that, it's also a time of year where we, in my business, we kind of compress the calendars now and then. So, for example, we don't want to make anybody work on Christmas. We don't want to make anybody work on New Year. And so that means that in order for some people to have those days off, guys like me have to work a little extra and a little harder to get things done quicker.
Yeah.
And that means that we don't have to run the press on a Monday, but we can still get a Tuesday delivery. And in order to do that, we run the press on Friday. So.
Yeah. Oof. So that does bump you up. You're not talking about just maybe a day or two. That kind of bumps you up like a 3 or 4 day period of you really got to get that done. And that's interesting. I always wondered how that worked. I know in what I do here, oftentimes people will ask about programs or things that I could do or people I could talk to. And it's well, sometimes it's time sensitive. You don't want to miss the mark, right? So if there's something that's happening, you can't write about 5-day-old news. So there's some real fine balance that takes place with that, isn't there?
Yes, there is. And there's the other times that you're really struggling to try and find those balances is when, somebody wants a week off. If I want to go run into Minnesota and I want a week off, I have to kind of take a look at the calendar and say, well, here's a week where there's not going to be a city meeting and there's not going to be but the rest of the world doesn't care.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They're not going to conform to your schedule. So that means that it's not out of the realm of possibilities, and it's definitely been done where Chad gets done with the funeral. And then he walks back to his hotel room, and then he goes to work when he's sitting, 800 miles away from the office. That's very real, and those things happen. And during these holiday weeks, another one of those holiday weeks that we struggle on is always Thanksgiving. For some odd reason, and I've never understood this, the Black Friday has become a holiday. And
I know.
It's like, dude, we got work to do. I mean, seriously, we got work to do.
Yeah.
And of course, you're looking at a guy that worked about 20 Thanksgivings in a row. And I now thank the good Lord for Michelle Clark, who has said, you know what, I'm going to go shoot that. You go spend Thanksgiving with your family. So I am very appreciative of folks like that. Don't have nearly enough of them.
Well, and let's throw this one out here. It's interesting. I always wonder where we're going to go and how we're going to start, Chad, when we do this. And it's funny that we stumbled onto this, but I want to cover something because of a couple different reasons. One, there was a lot of engagement that took place on social media over the deal. Two, I actually had some listeners really want for us to talk about it, which is strange to me because I don't necessarily. I got involved and made a couple comments or whatever, but you mentioned the working and having to work and people not caring and consumerism. And my first initial thing was just like, around Christmas time and stuff and the first of the year, people are really focused, right? We talked about this going in on our last couple programs, but there was an incident that I experienced at a local retailer here in the community. And there was some that others experienced here. So there was a group shared experience about going into a specific retailer pretty close to closing time at a very heightened time of the year when everybody's it was Christmas Eve. Everybody's trying to get home. Everybody's trying to get there. Okay, all of this is taking place. And it seemed like it just became a very soured situation for everybody. So for those listening that asked me to comment about this on the program and even talk to Chad about it, I guess this is the route I'm going to take with it. I think Chad said it right. I even got involved and made a couple comments, and nothing was negative. I made comments to say, well, if your hours of operation are from this time to this time, and that's when they are, then you should conduct your your day and your schedule as an employee in a manner in which is, pleasing to the customer, because the customer's not always right, but they're pay your way, So we've got this dichotomy going on here, and everybody's focused and ultra focused on what they're doing. And Chad said it, 2 weeks before the new year, 2 shows ago. It's time for everybody just to take a chill pill.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say listen to your advice, but I kept thinking to myself, this is Christmas Day, and I'm engaging people, even any of my time on social media. I mean, not that I'm guilty for doing that, because social media is such a part of our lives that it's directly connected to us. But it just, after thinking about it, man, I don't want to bring this up. 2024 on Harvey County Talk is going to be pro positive, pro growth, pro building, and really, Chad and I definitely are going to focus on some pro positive things that are taking place in our community, as we should. And as Chad had mentioned, well, we had a bunch of them, Chad. But what is your take on that? I mean, is it this message the same? Did you see any of that hodgepodge going on?
No.
Nah, you didn't even look at the phone on Christmas Day, did you? You're like, what are you looking at? Facebook? And,
yeah, no. Well, I have lots of thoughts, a lot of them. There's a part of me that's like, everybody, dude, just take a chill. Here's the other one. When you have a deadline, meet it.
Yeah.
Okay? And this is going to sound really cold, but here's the deal. Your procrastination is not the fault nor the problem of said retailer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I feel the same way about Chick-fil-A when they're closed on Sunday. I mean, Hobby Lobby closed on Sunday. Because you couldn't get there in the 6 other days of the week, you're going to be mad at them?
Yeah. Well, and it's not
I'm sorry. Your procrastination.
Yeah.
Not their problem. It's just not. Now, do I have a problem with, and I've gone through this, right? Do I have a problem with a store who's got an employee standing out front a half hour before they close saying, we're closing, and not letting people in? You better believe I do. Mm-hmm. You better believe I do. I have a problem with that because, dude, you are paid to be there. Your employer is paying you to be there and serve those customers. Okay?
Yeah.
And it...
Does it come down to something greater?
Straight up.
Does it come down to something even more? I even was thinking really deep, and it's funny that we'd go this deep on something like this, but I just thought, is there a deeper level here? And I want to say that it's quite possible that there is. Number one, if your corporation or company wants you to work on Christmas Eve and you signed up to negotiate to do that, and that's what you're going to do, then that's what you're going to do. But if your company really was concerned with your well-being as an employee and wanted you to be home with your family, then they just wouldn't be open on that day. And that's your problem with your company, not my problem as a customer. And it's very difficult for me to take it from anything other than the customer perspective, given my experience in retail. Being a retail manager of a large chain of retail stores, will just be general, at one point in time, the only day off that I had off was Christmas. And that was the only day. And if somebody came in 2 minutes before 11 o'clock when we closed, or even in some cases showed up and was knocking on the door 2 minutes before we were supposed to open, I would gladly service that customer, because what that customer would do is know that they would come back. They would come back. They would know that, and I'm not looking to give special treatment to people, but boy, I would always instruct my managers that, bend over backwards to try to accommodate the individual that's gracious enough to pick our store out of everybody else's store to buy our product, and let's provide them with an experience that makes them want to come back.
Yeah. So, here's how that applies to the business I'm in. When I signed up to do this, I every job interview I have said this. There's only 2 days I will not work. I flat out will not do it. And here's your warning. I will not work on Christmas. I will not work on Easter. Those are religious days for me. Christmas isn't all about giving gifts. That's not what it's about for me.
Yeah.
Okay? These are religious days. And so I will not work those days. Guess what? Over the course of the last 30 years, I have been called on to work on those days. And because there was nobody else to do what needed to be done, I did it. I don't like that. But it's a reality of the business that I work in.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well,
At one time, I was it. I was the only one. I had to write those doggone obituaries, and it didn't matter that it was Christmas Day. The press was going to be running at 3 a.m. on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
So, doggone it, we have to get this done. We have the deadline. So that's one place that this hits me. Okay, you know, and we are routinely called to go above and beyond the call of duty. Period. No ifs, no ands, and no buts about it. And if you're not willing to do that, don't bother coming into my business. And I'm talking about as an employee.
Yeah.
Okay? If you're not willing to go above and beyond, I don't want to hire you.
Yeah.
I just don't. Well, I won't. And then here's the other part of it. Because of the nature of our business, we have deadlines and we have to meet them.
Yeah.
We have no choice. It does not work if the deadlines don't get met.
That's right. You are in a service industry that requires specific things. Yeah.
When I get a phone call on Friday afternoon saying, how soon are you going to release these pages and stories? Our deadline is 5 o'clock. We have to get this done. And my response is, I was never notified. No one ever told me that we had to have the January 1 paper done on Friday night.
It doesn't matter, Chad.
Guess what?
You were there.
That's right.
Till it got done.
And I said, and my response was, we'll have something.
Yeah.
I've been already working on it. I do not procrastinate stuff. I get it done.
Yeah.
So there will be something, and it will come, and it will be ready, and it will be ready at 5. That's about all I can say.
But it goes back to this.
And doggone it if we didn't make that happen. But here's what didn't happen. There were advertisers who hadn't gotten back with what they wanted in their ads. I'm sorry, we've missed the deadline. We're not gonna charge you because we're not gonna run it. But I mean, that's the way we have to have it now.
Yeah.
Period. And we have to be very blunt in that particular situation. You know what? Yeah, we got hosed. You're getting hosed. There's nothing we can do about it. But if this would have been taken care of when it should have been taken care of, we'd be okay.
Yeah.
Your procrastination, not my problem.
Yeah.
Okay? It's your problem. It is not mine.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of that perspective that I have comes from. Right? So you went to a store on Christmas Eve and couldn't get in there. Well, you know what? You had 364 other days. And if it's somebody that's not open on weekends, you still had more than 300 days since last Christmas to deal with this. And you're waiting till now.
I'm with you.
I'm sorry.
It's like
I
this
do not
mess.
have sympathy.
It's this mess. And then equally though, you have to say, well, there's no sympathy for, I mean, you signed up to work in the service industry. It happens to be retail. You know you're going to most likely work the high times of the year. So
and
why?
Straight up, are there things that need to be open on Christmas Day? You better believe it. If the pharmacies there was one pharmacy open in Newton on that day. Okay? And when you look down the hey, I make no secret about it that I signed up to do DoorDash, and I actually thought about turning that on Christmas Day. But I looked at the business list, and I looked at what was open. One pharmacy. That was it. So what happened on Christmas Day for me, I went ahead and opened it up and I let it run because I figured if somebody needs a prescription, doggone it, then we're going to get it. We're going to get it to them.
Right.
Okay? All right? But that was it. That's all that was open. And I saw one post somewhere about, can anybody tell me what businesses are open on Christmas Day?
I did see that.
Dude, that's it.
But there was a few. There really was a few. I mean, if you were looking at that, Walgreens was open.
Walgreens pharmacy only.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It was pharmacy only.
I didn't know that. Okay, I thought all Walgreens was open or something. But yeah,
it was pharmacy.
So and even then, do we really? We could get into a rabbit hole on this.
Well, yes,
one.
yes, we can.
Then we ask the question,
it's kind of like this.
Christmas.
And it's kind of like this. We bought as I go through the gifts that we gave our kids, we got one gift that required batteries. Okay. I made darn sure that we had those batteries.
Yeah.
I actually, Naaman, close your ears, please. I actually opened that gift up 2 weeks before Christmas. I opened it and I tested it to make sure it would work because I was not going to go through that Christmas of, Daddy, it doesn't work. No, not doing that.
It can't go
I have the power to make sure that does not occur. It's like I got 2 weeks. If they don't work, we're sending them back and we're going to get ones that do. And I made darn sure that when I was done with that, I took all the batteries that I used and knew that were going to be needed in this particular item, put them in a plastic bag, and literally tied them to the box.
Just to make sure that we'd have no hiccups here.
We were not going to get up on Christmas morning and for my son to look at me and Dad, we're out of batteries.
No place to get batteries.
What are we going to do?
Well, and I got a question. Okay, this goes back to something, and I wanted to get, because we are speaking about businesses and whatnot, and something that I've seen you all do last year, I think, and this year, and I wanted to highlight it and understand a little bit more about it. But just to kind of have the last word on this, Chad, doesn't it speak to the fact that in 2024 that we're having a conversation that centers around a holiday that is supposed to be reserved for spending time with family? Really, I mean, not going to say go to church, but, the whole reason.
Well, the church happens the day before.
Yeah, but
right?
The whole reason for the day, right, is because little baby Jesus came into our world,
right,
and was the Paschal lamb that sacrificed for all of our sins, right? That's the whole point, right?
Prophesy, Lance.
Okay,
prophesy.
Sorry. Okay, I'm trying to tread lightly. I don't want to get cut off of YouTube or anything because I'm saying something religious, and this is very general, but we are such a highly saturated consumerist society that we can't even focus on why we're doing this. It's not about love. It's not about time with family. It has come to the point in time about this is the time I get what I want. And it's because I asked for it that I want it. And then we have, and really have because if you study the story of Santa, I'm not trying to bring it. I didn't do this before Christmas because I don't want to bring anybody down. But if you really study the whole thing, frontwards, backwards, through and through, when it comes to Christmas, and what it is today and how it came to be, it's pretty sad that we're more concerned with what we get, what we can buy, what we can return, mitigating those, stimulating those. It's just
we've turned Christmas into a celebration of cheap plastic crap.
Yeah, celebration of self.
And I don't like it, but it is what it is.
We are, in fact, that.
Yeah.
So, think about that till next year.
That's why in my family, right, with my 3 kids, my kids get 3 gifts. That's what they get. 3 gifts. No more, no less. And how many did Jesus receive when he was in the manger?
3 gifts.
3. So we give 3 gifts. That's what we give them.
I know what I need to do. I need to start giving my children frankincense.
Well, I'm gonna go that far.
Incense and myrrh. Isn't that what it was? Gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
Yeah. I'm not gonna go that far, but we do. That's what we do. You know, and you know what? At the end of the day, everybody's happy. And at the end of the day, I've got a pair of boys who's got their room is so freaking full of crap that I mean, and I'm guilty of that too, right? My man cave is just full of stuff. Yeah. And it's like, man, clean it. Well, how do you clean it? In order to really clean it, you got to get rid of.
Yeah.
And then I've got a daughter who keeps those Christmas gifts for a year, 2, and then she's like, eh.
And she's the one that needs to go through and be like, you don't need this. You haven't touched it in a year.
Yes. And then it's headed to Goodwill or to one of her friends, you know. I mean, dude, yes.
Do you want to hear something strange I do with Christmas gifts?
The cheap plastic crap is wasted on her because that's not what she wants.
If there's any psychologists listening right now, you can explain this to me, or Chad could explain this to me. But when I get something somebody buys to me, 9 times out of 10, I will never take it out of the package. I will just keep it and make sure that it's, I don't know. It's like I don't know why I do that. It's like if you bought me a nice knife or something, I'm going to keep it in the package and I'm going to make sure that it's, I don't know.
Pardon me, my brother-in-law and sister.
I don't know why that's a weird thing.
My brother-in-law and sister brought me to tears with one Christmas gift over the course of the last 20 years. And you want to know what it was? It was a big box of meat from the Peabody locker. And I was like, dude, this is so awesome. You know, I mean, it's like,
yeah.
But you know, when you go through these time periods where it's a struggle to even buy groceries, and then all of a sudden here you go.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on into 2024, we can't overlook that that the Kansan puts out a yearly. Well, I guess I would call it a mini paper.
Pardon.
Okay. It's
special section.
Special section. It's the best of Newton. If you've seen this around, it's worth looking at. This is all generated from what I understand as different categories throughout Newton and Harvey County, maybe even yet, or just Newton, or
it's Newton and Harvey County.
Okay, Newton, Harvey County. So then you can, by participating in this. I don't know when it starts. Chad will clear us up on some of this, but you can just go through and say, hey, I want to nominate Harvey County Talk for the best podcast in Harvey County. Okay, I'm not even sure it's probably in here, and I didn't make the list probably, but don't say anything about that yet.
Well, it's heavy. Hey, straight up, it's heavy on restaurants. The lists are heavy on restaurants.
Well, once we go back to service,
if you really honestly believe, and I know you're out there and you do because you have voted for it for years, but if you really honestly believe that McDonald's serves the best cup of coffee in Harvey County, you can nominate them and you can vote for them.
Yeah.
So I obviously don't subscribe to that belief that the best cup of coffee can be found at McDonald's, but just saying, for years they appeared at the top of that category.
Well, I'm not going to say that. I'm sure that Norm's is in there somewhere, are they not? Okay. So
yeah, we got Norm's in a couple of places.
So what's the deal? Okay, I'm thinking this is a 2-year-old deal. Is this started in 2022? When did this actually start where you all started doing?
I don't even know when it started.
So it's been going on that long?
It's been going on for decades.
Really?
Yeah, really.
And this whole time?
Yeah.
And then, okay, so what's changed about it? I mean, it just blipped up on me. So why don't I mean, is it just one of those things where I just didn't realize that's what was happening until 2022?
Well, because it's been going on for a long time, there's been lots of different changes, right?
Okay.
So I can remember the times when we would start the promotion of this thing in like July with half-page ads, and those half-page ads would have all the categories.
Okay.
That people could then fill it. They could cut that out of the paper and they could fill it out.
Okay.
They'd come get
so we've come a long way.
And yeah.
Technology.
And it's now all done. It's now 100%. All of the voting, all of the nomination, everything is being done online. Okay, that was a very hard change, and for a number of years, we would have people coming in and saying, "I need my worksheet."
Okay, so then maybe this. So let's say this. When did it change? Is it 2022? Was the first time you started going online?
No, it's been online for quite a while now too.
Okay.
The other thing that has changed,
something interesting, but this is something that's been around for a minute.
No, it's been around. The other thing that has changed with it is the timing and when we actually publish it and whatever else. And I mean, we have, it's kind of bounced around the calendar this year. For whatever reason, they picked December 30th for the date that it would be inserted in the paper, and the PDFs are on thekansan.com. I double checked that Monday. They're there. You can, if you want to download it there, that's another spot.
Yeah. This is really cool, Chad.
The one thing that is a first, and it's because I just kind of looked at it and I said, how do we add some value to this? The one thing that's a first is that when the Harvey County Resource Guide, which is a product that we have been doing for a lot of years and nobody knows we do, when that gets done and when it gets printed and distributed this year, one of the things that's there are restaurant listings. And to date, it's always just been restaurant name, restaurant address, maybe phone number. I mean, it's just really it's just a listing. But now this year we are notating those folks who have won their category in the best of the Newton Kansan.
Okay.
So that's one change.
And they get to wear this like a badge. It maybe. Okay,
yeah,
I'm trying to think. Like I just saw some people that I really supported as a company that supported Harvey County Talk that made the best of the best.
Yep.
And they just, because maybe I'm following them, I started seeing it and I was like, wow, that's really cool. They've got the best of the best. That's a neat idea. I didn't know, they had that. And then I see this and it's kind of taping the same thing. I guess I'm trying to walk back the fact that literally this has been here for decades.
It
I'm
has
an avid
been.
Kansan reader and I missed it.
It has been. And we've got some businesses that have embraced the value of using that as a marketing tool for themselves.
It should be.
It's the sticker on the front door. It's the certificate that goes by the cash register, and then obviously it's a section itself.
I tell you, it means something to me when we talk about what we just talked about. That's enough reason for me not to go to someplace. But
and straight up, everything there is voted on
by people.
I don't vote.
Yeah,
I have no dog in this fight. I honestly do pretty much nothing with this. I mean, zip. Right? So our advertising staff of one is pretty much 100% in control of this thing. She doesn't vote either. Okay, all the nominations and votes are done online, and to drive that point home. Last year was the year where I finally got fed up when I would take my car to my favorite repair shop in Newton. And he would look at me and he goes, why in the heck was I not nominated for best of the best? I'm okay being the best kept secret in town because I'm busy. But why? He's like, dude, you work there. I'm like, because I have nothing to do with it.
There's nothing. Yes. This is a completely audience-driven deal.
You need that guy that just paid the bill. You need him
to go online.
To go nominate to go nominate you. And then you need to mount your social media campaign for votes.
Yeah.
That's how this works.
But it makes sense, too, because truth be told, people are not going to be vocal about you. They're not going to get on there and vote for you. I mean, people can be like, oh, yeah, and leave it at that. But this requires action on their behalf. I mean, if you really think that Shield Roofing, let's say, I know that was 2022, is the best of the best in customer service, let's just hypothesize, right? Or I'm just throwing this out here. Then that's what I'm going to go to because I'm going to expect that that's what I'm going to get. I mean, that's a way to ensure that people can be vocal about their positive experience that they had with that company. That's the company's ability to say, hey, look, this customer had a positive experience. If you can get 20 people, if you're a business owner, you get 20 people to go vote you the best of. I mean, there's a connection there. There's a parallel. You're not doing bad business or giving these people poor service with the expectation that they're going to get on here and do anything for you, because face value is one thing. I can tell you have the sweetest meatballs and spaghetti ever, but I don't have to go in my own personal free time.
And I just want to throw this out there too. I mean, it's a joke, but it's not a joke. I mean, to my mechanic, dude, I'm really glad you don't end up in the best of the best, because I already have to wait like 2 weeks to get my car into you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you're the best, and there's a lot of people who know that you're the best, dude. And when I need my car fixed, I really don't want to like schedule 2 weeks in advance.
Yeah.
So
that's because that's not how when you're breaking down, it doesn't say, hey, you need to schedule an appointment today because in 2 weeks from now, I'm going to take
I'm all right scheduling the oil change, right? I'm good with that. I'm good,
like,
you know.
What do you do when all of a sudden my stuff like starts knocking?
Yeah.
I can't drive it for 2 weeks. Okay, so another thing, once again, audience, if you have not had the opportunity, I'm sure these are not gone. You said they are up there digitally. All you have to do is go to thekansan.com and be able to look this up and find out who's the best. And I'm sure there's somebody has a Kansan paper running around. In fact, I know that this year there's been at least 3 or 4 people that I personally been able to say, you just need to subscribe to the Kansan. And they've done it. And so, moving on to the Kansan paper, the one I really wanted to talk about, and I wanted to take some time on this, and we were talking about being pro-positive, and you said, you gave a teaser that this was going to be the newsmaker.
Yes.
Right? And we had a clip out, and it got some traction, and I hope that people were interested in what was the newsmaker, but the newsmaker of the year is the Harvey County Economic Development Council. And I just wanted to be able to really unpack that with you, Chad, and understand in our first episode of the year, why did you choose that? And just how did you come up with that?
Well, let's start with the fact that it's probably been 4 or 5 years since we've actually named a newsmaker. And the reason for that is that straight up, it's kind of my job to make the decision on who that's going to be. And so, we went through a series, several years where it just didn't feel like the cream was rising to the top. It didn't feel like, in the, couple of last weeks of December, as I sat down and went through publications and would do, like name searches and whatever else, that there just wasn't somebody that was really rising to the level of being called a newsmaker of the year. Yeah. They just weren't there. And that's strictly my interpretation of the way life was.
We had some rough patches here
3, 4 years.
Yes, we did.
And one of the reasons for that is that, we all the way back in about 2003, Chris Strunk, who's the guy who hired me, thank God, made a comment as we had a staff of about 8, and we would talk about that. We'd talk about what the top 10s were going to be. We're going to talk about what the newsmakers were going to be. And he made a comment during one of those meetings that I thought was really cool. He said, I have 2 things to say as we start talking about newsmaker of the year. Number 1, for some odd reason, Chad's been the one that's been anointing the newsmaker of the year for the last 3 to 4 years. It's been somebody from his beats. And so y'all got a challenge to figure out who it is from your beat that's going to give him a run. And so I was like, cool. I like that. That felt good to me. And then he said, and by the way, we want the newsmaker of the year to be the newsmaker of the year for a good reason. We want it to be a positive story. We don't want to be trotting a murderer out on our front page as newsmaker of the year. Yeah. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And which was probably the reason that I had that stretch. Again, we had 8 people on staff.
Yeah.
Not all full time, but we had 8 people on staff. And it was me that was finding the people that would rise to that level. Well, it's that second half where it's like we want it to be a good story. We want it to be a positive story. We want this to be a reason to celebrate. And so now you got to fast forward. You fast forward, some 20-something years, and it had been 3, 4, 5 years since I had felt like there was somebody rising to the top of the consciousness. And, I was sitting in my office going, I really don't feel it this year either. Unless I do something different. And then I started spinning with, well, we've had some really big announcements this year. And Hillsborough Industries pushed it over the top, to be honest. That just pushed it over the top for me. I was like, dude, Beth and Jennifer have just absolutely been knocking it out of the park. But they haven't been knocking it out of the park alone. There's people behind them, and that development council has been involved in knocking it out of the park
over and over and over again.
And the argument could have been made in favor of the city commission as well. But can we be brutally honest? Who's bringing all this to the city commission?
Yeah.
It's been the EDC that's been bringing this. It's been Beth. It's been, and she never speaks in public, Jennifer. It's been Ken Nepper, right, who's on that EDC. It's been those guys that have been going not only to the city, but they've been going to the county, and they've been the ones in all those executive sessions to discuss all of this stuff that can't be talked about in public until it can be talked about in public. That's who's been doing it all. And I'm like, dude, there's your newsmaker. It's the EDC. Because you've heard me say it before. I'm going to say this again. I think I'm going to say this over and over and over and over again. 2023 was a formative and transformative year for Newton. No ifs, no ands, and no buts about it. We finally got some stuff done that we've been waiting and waiting and waiting to get done. And we've had announcements that we have been needing for a really long time. And all due respects to some other folks around town who have said it publicly and used whatever pulpit they have to say. Newton was, and they're right, desperate for some victories. Justifiably so. We had put a lot into the KLP. We've put a lot into Sand Creek Station. We have put a lot into this community, and some of it had never paid off. And now it's starting to pay off.
Well, and we can even say it's going to pay off, because in a lot of ways we are, I'm apprehensive to say things. I don't want to go tell people, hey, we've got some housing at Fox Ridge coming out here. Well, at this point in the game, we pretty much do. Yeah. Unless somebody's just going to sit on there.
They're going. The bids are, the bid processes are started for stuff. So it's happening.
Just one right after the next, after the next, after the next.
I wrote about this in that story. You go back 1 year, from the end of December. Go back 1 year, and the headlines we were getting.
Oh yeah.
Mid-cabinet closing down.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
not looking good.
400 jobs gone. Right? And that came off of Lippert shutting down, and a couple hundred jobs gone. I mean, we were in a spot. We were in a rough one. And there's really only one way to respond when you're punched in the mouth, and that's to get back up and get moving. And, that's a bad analogy, because the EDC never stopped moving. They never stopped working. They kept going. And they had to keep going on faith. And the faith was, something's going to give soon. Something big's going to happen.
And now it's just the domino.
And they, right at the end, and I mean literally at the end of December last year, they got a group of people together and said, we need you to bring this thing home. We're talking about 140, 150 jobs. Millions upon millions upon millions of capital investment. And we need you to bring this home for us. And the reason they needed somebody to bring them home was there was so much negativity that was being voiced.
You're talking about GAF.
Yes.
Yes, I was there for that. I was there. I was part of the people. Voiced. I got to be part of the people that showed up to ask for
Yes.
GAF to come to my community to welcome GAF to our community because of some things that had been said.
And doggone it if those people that they asked to come together didn't do that. Well, again, who was the asker? It was the EDC. And that announcement for GAF from an economic development perspective should have been enough to grab some attention. And it grabbed some attention from me, to be honest. Should have been enough.
Yeah.
And honestly, it is. When you hear people from the greater area Wichita Partnership saying this is the biggest capital investment project in our region in the better part of a decade. This is huge.
Yeah.
So we got folks from the outside looking at you going, I don't know what the heck you did, but man, you need to do that again. That's awesome. Okay, that's what we had.
Yeah.
And then the announcements kept coming.
And just keep coming.
Right? So, one that flew under the radar and I didn't write about here. Hey, for years, that KLP has been sitting out there, and for years, they've been trying to sell this with rail access. Well, the KNO they signed an agreement to buy property and put in a small switch yard, which is going to be needed.
Yeah.
Okay? Railroads move slow. Metaphorically.
Well, we have
they
this,
move
yes,
slow.
but we live in an instant gratification society. So wherefore, in the past, like I tell people, anybody that comes to me that asks any questions of me, and that happens quite a bit when it comes to government and what to do and where to go and how to get this and that and everything done, and advice is free. I'm for it all day long. Call me, okay? But you can't expect for anything to happen fast. In fact, if you say, I want to be able to paint this, I want to be able to put a statue out at Athletic Park, a tiny little statue, right? Got anything you want to do. Okay. There's going to be a process of months, maybe even a year before you see anything. So you're talking about like 2-3 years down the road.
Here's a healthy dose of perspective for you, Lance.
I mean, just the skate park took us like 8 months.
Exactly. But I'm going to give you a healthy dose of perspective. And I honestly do not care what side of the issue you are on when it comes to wind turbines and wind energy. I do not care. Okay? This statement that I'm about to make does not matter which side you're on or care. Okay? In Marion County, from the announcement of the intention of putting up wind turbines to construction was 20 years. 20 years. Again, it doesn't matter which side of the issue you're on. That was a 20-year saga. If you're against them, you had 20 years that you were fighting. If you're for them, you had 20 years that you were fighting. 20 years. This stuff does not happen overnight.
Yeah.
It never has. And I go back to the words of the late Dolores, well, I don't know if she's late or not, but of Dolores Dalkey, who was the mayor of Hillsboro when I first moved there. And she said over and over and over again to me, when we're talking economic development, we're going to look like idiots for 10 years. It's always going to be 10 years before things get moving. In the case of the Kansas Logistics Park, it was 12. And I'll be honest, we haven't seen any shovels yet. We have not. But it was 12 years before GAF signed. And I can't remember the dude's name, but 11 years before we got signatures for the construction of some warehousing out there.
Well, and looking back, time
and 12
flies.
years, it was 12 years, and now that we're at 12 years, okay, you got folks in the EDC that are going, I think we're just about out of land.
They're going to have to...
What are we going to do?
Yeah.
What are we going to do? And again, these are not folks that are sleeping on the job, folks. I'm telling you, they are not. Okay? These are folks that are constantly talking to the cabinet company and asking, can we sell that for you? If the answer keeps coming back no, that should tell everybody something about what's really going on out there.
Sometimes, see,
but they're constantly asking because they know that if they can get their hands on it to sell it, that they will sell it. It's a fact of the matter.
Yeah.
Okay? They are not sitting still. And they're now asking, where are we going to go for land next?
That's a good problem to have.
It is a good problem to have because it means that stuff is coming down the pipe. Not only does it mean that we know and we can have faith that dirt will be turned soon. It also means that there is enough people looking that we need more. Because there's going to be more.
It's going to be a powerful year of 2024. It is in our community. We're going to see things grow.
I think it might have been Rod Cry that said during some of his opening comments as mayor that they want to make sure that 2024 is as big and as good as 2023 was. That's setting an extremely high bar, massively high bar. No two ways about it.
Once the ball gets rolling,
we had troubles in 2023. We really do. We did have troubles. There's no question about it. But 2023 was an absolute net gain. So there you go.
Well, I don't want to run you out of anything on as far as you want to bring something up today. Are you wanting to bring anything up today, Chad? Because I got one more thing I want to say, and we are getting close on time.
Well, there's a headline there, and I almost cried during the city commission meeting, and I know Chris Toohey just about cried, and he actually said, "I'm going to go out into the hall and cry" when his portion of the meeting was over. This town's going to miss him.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, he's the pro over at Sand Creek Station. He is the only manager and pro that golf course has ever known. And if you want a success story from Newton, there is one right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I could not believe.
I couldn't. When I was watching, I couldn't believe it. I was like, what?
And one of the reasons that I couldn't believe it is that I know how much he was just absolutely looking forward to this summer. They're bringing in the U.S. Adaptive Open. It's one of the largest national championships in the country.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't believe it just from that timing alone that this was the time he was going to step away. And I know how much he has really appreciated this town.
Well, one thing, his company appreciates him too.
Yes.
You think he comes here, I'm not going to say in despair, because I don't think that he was in despair or anything, but if you know anything about his story.
He got totally wiped out by a hurricane.
Yeah. Had to go somewhere.
And he had to go somewhere, and they stuck him basically they stuck him somewhere, and he
flourished.
He did what he needed to do. He did what he needed to do, and then they turned around and were like, well, we have got this brand new golf course that's opening up in the middle of Kansas. Well, how about there? And so he came here, and he wasn't. It was still pretty fresh. Getting wiped out was still pretty fresh when he showed up here.
Yeah.
And
called Newton home.
And
from what I understand.
Yes, most definitely. And it didn't take him long. And he has been nothing but good.
Kids here, the whole thing. Yep. Enjoyed and loved our community, and now it's time for him to be able to reap the benefits of doing a damn good job where he's at, and hopefully be able to.
He's headed to Kentucky, and I doubt anybody from Kentucky is going to watch this, but if you are, dude, you're getting a good one.
Yeah.
And
well, I missed that one, Chad. I had people tell me I should get him out here on an interview, and I don't know if he said he was leaving yet, but maybe it would be something to do is try to get a hold of him as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
To say a good farewell and goodbye.
Yeah,
you know,
you
and
need to
thank
get
him
him
for what he did.
You need to call him up sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Because the clock is definitely ticking. I think February is when he was planning to acquiesce out of Sand Creek Station. He also does plan on trying to be around and for the Adaptive Open in July. So.
Okay. What was it? So on that note, I wanted just to say something to the audience before we go. I know I always give you the last word, but I want to say something to everybody. Just the first time of 2024 here. Do you want to do the last word after that or before,
Sure.
Chad?
After's fine.
Okay. Just speaking directly to the audience, I want to personally thank anybody who has invested their time, their energy, or their effort in Harvey County Talk as a whole, whether you're a listener or a contributor or a sponsor or an advertiser, whatever it is that any way that you've contribute. Thanks for giving your mind to us for the periods of times that you do when you listen and your eyes and you watch. I know that over the course of the last year, people have watched Harvey County Talk grow and change, and sometimes you might be sitting there wondering what are they doing? But the truth of the matter is you were able to get on the ground floor of this, as the audience. And so where in a lot of cases you might have a business that you've seen and experience without watching them have to grow and change and shape around, well, the audience, you, and what you want and what your desires are and what you want to listen to and see, and the people that you prefer to watch on the program. So I just want to put a recap on it to say, thank you in 2023 for making Harvey County Talk a staple of the community. And obviously last year we focused a lot on public leaders in the community and those that have been elected or those that are leaders of civic organizations. And I think in this coming year, we're going to focus a little bit more on economic development. I know that I've already snagged an interview with the owner, I'm going to assume, or general manager of Hillsborough Industries, because they're coming here. And so what we're going to do is 2024 for Harvey County Talk is going to be the year of pro-positivity. I promise you that. I'm going to do everything I can to be pro-positive. And second, to be able to really just promote a lot of local businesses and organizations within the community, but not so much strictly public sector. And so that's what we've done in the past. But a lot of you have reached out and want to hear the stories of some of these longstanding business owners in this community and people that are coming in to our community and why and leaving. And so we're going to continue to make sure that we reach out to everybody in the community that those of you want to hear their story and what they're doing, what they're about. I'd like to thank Chad. You're sitting across the table from me. I appreciate you, Chad. I'm glad that you've came to be a part of Harvey County Talk, and I couldn't thank the Kansan and you and Cherry Road Media, if that's what we want to call it anymore, just for being able to be a part, be a part of what's going on. And really, I'd have to say that Harvey County Talk might not be what Harvey County Talk is without you and the Kansan, Chad. So I appreciate you. I'm looking forward. I think 2024 is going to be a good year for all of us. And so I just wanted to make sure and let everybody know that there's a method to the madness, and you'll see some interesting things in 2024, and you'll be able to see a whole lot more of Chad's face.
Yeah.
So,
yes, yeah, I already started. Right?
I hope that wasn't too long of a monologue there, or long-winded, but definitely we're seeing some awesome things. We're going to have some awesome opportunities, and we're just appreciative that we continue to move forward as the I'm not going to say the only, because there's probably a podcast out there somewhere, but we're the ones that are doing this for Harvey County. So this is a team effort. You, the audience, is included in that team. Chad, we're coming to the end of the program, my man. You get to speak directly to the hearts and minds of those listening. Give me a teaser or something from something, somewhere, somehow. What do you got for us, Chad?
You want a teaser?
I don't know. What's coming in the next paper? I'm all for this.
What's coming in the next paper?
Tell people to chill out, slow down, and quit being so mean.
This is honestly, this week right here that we're in is like the hardest week of the year to be a news reporter. It is absolutely like pulling teeth to find things to write about. But I'm going to have something on the cost that is being paid for COVID vaccinations. And also what the county health department is going to be charging those folks who go there for their COVID vaccination. And just so you know, it's not the most expensive vaccine that is offered, but yeah. So that's what I'm working on for Saturday.
That is a teaser. I don't know. I'm interested. I'm interested in that. So for Saturday's paper, you need to make sure and get Saturday's paper because Chad is digging up the COVID bones.
And so, yeah, I guess, if I were to say something directly to those people who are watching right now, I need some tips. I got a person that has come forward that would like to do some contracted work, which is per piece for stories. She approached me for a possible internship, and I'm like, nah, we're gonna pay you. But I need to get her some work. I need some fun stories. What I really want for her is the common people who are doing uncommon things.
Yeah.
Right? So email me, please.
Very cool.
Please. News@thekansan.com.
News@thekansan.com.
Yeah, news@thekansan.com.
And we'll even display it right there on the screen.
Yeah, you got to make sure it's the Kansan and it's all lowercase. But yeah.
I love it.
Just let me know what I can put on her plate, because I would absolutely love to give her some work.
Absolutely. All right. Well, see, there's another teaser, because who is this person? I got to know. So,
she's a current college student.
Oh, no. Oh, no. That sounds like a plan. I'm interested. Absolutely interested. That's awesome. Journalism is cool. That's what I can say. Written word is key.
And she's not a journalist, just so you know. And she's not going to school for journalism. But I quit hiring journalists a long time ago because, by and large, certain company excluded, journalists are boring. So they write boring. So I just
no excitement in that.
Yeah.
It's very matter of fact. All right. Well, there you have it, folks, and thanks for listening to this episode of Harvey County Talk. As always, I was your host, Lance Gormley, and Chad Fry, managing editor of the Kansan, is our weekly guest on the program. Have a good week, everybody.
Thanks.